Second line of Vav Amud Aleph. The Mishnah mentioned that the common denominator, the Tzad HaShaveh, between the four Avot is that they damage and you're responsible. So what was the point of saying that? It sounds like you're trying to include something. Right? When you give a common denominator between something, that means you're trying to say anything that fits that form, anything that fits that mold also. So Hatzad HaShaveh, Latuye Mai, what is that trying to include? Gago. This includes a case of someone's knife, stone, or item that he left on top of his roof. And it fell. And it fell through a wind blew it down, a regular wind blew it down. Right. So it wasn't an extra special strong wind that would be patur. A regular wind was able to blow it down and it damaged. So Gemara says, what's that type of case? If they were damaging as they were moving, meaning it landed on someone, hainu esh. It's the same thing as fire. Maishna esh, because what's fire? Another force, something else came through, yani wind, and it damages. So it was the same thing. Something else is pushing this item down in your chayav. So Ella Batar Denaichi, some other case after arrested, then that's also a problem because if it landed on the floor and then damaged someone, Idaf Kirino, because if it's Hefker, Ben the Rav and the Shmuel and a bor, they both agree it'd be considered a bor. Maishnab, right, we mentioned before is machloket as to whether or not the item has to be Hefker. But over here they both agree it's bor. Maishnab bor, Shekin Tatanas Tulin Ezak Manachash. Over there also, it's a bor b'shut harabim, if you will. It's something that's a stumbling block for people in your chayav. And now that would be the same thing. So rather, we have to say the law of was not made hefker. The Shmuel, the Amar Kulami Barodamano, according to Shmuel, who learned that all items left in public as an obstacle are learned from bor. Hainu bor. That's also considered a bor. So what would be the explanation? It's a case where he did make it hefker, but it's not compared to a pit. Why? Because a pit has nothing else that's helping it damage. Right? So true. Now that it's resting, it's now an obstacle. But originally, it wasn't an obstacle when you left it on your roof or on your fence. It got blown down and then it became an obstacle. Over here, it was helped by wind. So we say, no, I can demonstrate that even fire, which has a separate force, an outside force, yani wind, causing damage, but you could say, no, Esh is different. It's not a good comparison to Esh, this item on the roof, because this one Esh is usually damaging. And Bor Techiyah, but then the opposite is proven by Bor, that movement and damages are not the same thing over there. It doesn't move and you can still damage. And therefore the argument can go back and forth. We had this many, many times that each one has one specification that applies to it, one attribute, and it doesn't apply to anything. And therefore, you have to teach them both to teach you that any item that you're chayav and like the Mishnah said, you're chayav, because it wouldn't be able to learn from the other because they each have an attribute that applies with it, does not apply to others. Okay. Rava says a different thing. Is referring to a quote unquote a bor that is rolled around by men, by people or animals that are walking. That's kicked around. Right? So it wasn't left in a place that was dangerous, but rather it was rolled around. Same problem. If it's rolled, then it's considered a bor. It also starts off damaging, and you have to watch it. Also do this. Does not have care. Same question before. According to Shmuel, holds that it's not hefker. You still chayav. What would be the hadush? Tomar hefker, not compared to bor. Right. So far, the exact format is almost copy paste to Rabbayeh. A pit is comparable to this case because it is a pit. Sorry, a pit is incomparable because a pit is made through someone's action, right? Someone took a thing and dug it out. Over here, but the owner's actions, for example, over here didn't cause it, right? He put it wherever it was and it got rolled around. You say, no, an ox can demonstrate that that's true. right? The animal walks while damaging, and then a boar proves that that's not considered a critical attribute because a boar doesn't walk while damaging. Yani stays in the same place. And therefore the argument repeats itself again and again. This does not match that. This does not match that, and therefore you have to teach you that the board only works by board, and it can teach you items that get rolled around as well. Okay, the items are coming to include the following beraita. Called elush amropokin bebotehen vegorfin me'arotehen. Okay, so back then they didn't have sewage, they didn't have plumbing systems. They would gather their sewage and waste in a waste container, pipes, and then whenever they would pour it out, they would pour it out. There was certain times supposed to pour it out. So they're supposed to pour it out in certain times. Right, so it's referring to waste pits or septic waste, like disgusting stuff. Okay, during the summer or winter, summer days, hot days, you have no reshut because everything's dry, and therefore it's going to just stick there and smell and be an obstacle. But during the winter season, you're able to because it'll get washed away. Even though you do have permission during the winter, if it does cause damage, you're chayav. Right? And the Baraba saying, we learn from this case, the Tzara Shevebehen, that's what's teaching us that in this case, you're still chayav. So Rabbi trying to include the case of waste. Now we're gonna delve into it. What's this case? If they were damaging as it was moving, meaning you're shoveling it and you threw it into the street and it landed on someone's clothing and ruined it, that's considered the guy's koach, and it's the man who's damaging. But that, if you're talking about after arrested and someone slipped on it, for example, right? It's the same comparison to bor. It is put as an obstacle in Bershut Rabim, which can be damaging, and you're chayav. And then love is not hefker. The Shmuel according to Shmuel, who holds that you still learn it from bor, you're still chayav. And bor, still the same problem. Rather, it's not a case of hefker. The bor, it's still not considered the bor. Why? Because a bore is dug out without permission, right? No one asked you, no one wanted you, and definitely no one wants it. No one wants you to do it. Over here, you are allowed to, right? They're literally telling you that you have permission to do it. Maybe you should be tatur, and therefore they're telling you that this is you're still chayav. The Gemara says, "Oh, sure you're chayav." Oxes demonstrate it's not true because you don't have permission to let your ox damage, obviously. And you're still chayav even in public property. Somewhere it says, but a shore is different because we know it's normal to damage. Right? Each part is an attribute that applies to only them, and therefore and it goes back to status quo. Okay. Ravina says different thing. Does include the following Mishnah. A wall or a tree that fell into public property and caused damage, right? So let's say a wall fell down and broke someone's cup. Patur patur. Right, so that's obviously talking about a case where it randomly fell down. Let's say it was rickety and they realized it's going to fall. So Patin gave him a notice. Right, Patin used to be very powerful back then. It wasn't like a regular thing. They used to run the city. Patin put a notice on his wall. Dangerous wall or dangerous tree, cut it down immediately, destroy it immediately before it falls. And then what happened? And it fell down before that time. So let's say they told him you have 10 days to cut it and it fell down on day 7, you're patur because he still had more time to cut it, according to Betin. But if you expired that time, you're chayav. That's the case. If the wall or trees have same thing. Eat love does not have care. I know board still considered a board. Board said no lam still have care, but no board is not considered not compared to board. My board can. This wall was never supposed to be damaging. It was a wall or a tree. The Gemara says again, ox shows that's not true because also does not damage right away, and it could still lead to damage, and you still chayav. But 1 second, a shore does damage when it walks. The board doesn't walk and still damages. And etc. Again, we knock it out back and forth. Okay, next part of the Mishnah, kishezik hav hamazik. When it does damage, you are hav, you're chayav. Right? Very strange word to use, hav. So where it says hav hamazik, hayav hamazik. Why don't you say hayav? Like a normal person. Why are we saying hav? Where it says interesting as Mari Damarav. Tane Tana Yushalmihu. This Tana was from Yushalayim. Tana Lishna Kalila. They used to clip the language, used to shorten words. So it's true. Hav means chayav. Fun fact of the day. Lishlan Tashlu Menezek Yar chayav, full damages. Number 9. Metav Sedeu Metav Karamoy Shalem. You have to pay the best of the field or the best of the vineyard. Right? Metav Sedeu Shnizak, Metav Karamoy Shnizak. We mentioned before, we made it sound like it's automatically the guy who damaged has to pay from his best property. But the Gemara is saying, who says? You have to pay from your best property, or you have to pay from the guy who got damaged, right? Which means you have to pay that. If let's say the guy has a property in Manhattan, a property in Harlem, and you have properties comparable to price-wise, and you have properties as well in different levels, you have to pay according to his highest priced item. Which means if you have a higher one than him, you don't have to use that. That would be a good nafkamina, or vice versa, right? So you have to pay according to the damaged guy's best level of property. No, the pasuk is teaching you that the damager has to pay from the best property. The kavachomer lehekdesh, and also definitely true when Bedin's collecting from you for hekdesh, you also have to pay from top quality land. The Yishmael, according to Yishmael, right? According to Ishmael, who says that technically, what should it be? If you ate a expensive tomato, pay back expensive tomato. But are you telling me, according to this, that if the guy ate a rotten, shriveled cucumber, I have to pay him brand new, beautiful cucumbers? It's not fair. It's some of the case where an animal ate a whole row between different rows. Right? So it's not talking about a case where we see the beautiful tomato or the bad tomato and we say, okay, pay top dollar. No. He ate the whole row, the whole line of tomatoes he ate, and we don't know what was the quality of that row. Was it good quality or bad quality? In that case, Rabbi Shmuel says you have to pay the top one because he made it in the top one. But you would agree that if you definitely know you ate from a poor one, like a bad quality, you don't have to pay the top. Okay, Marava, Ma'ilu Yadinan ki hosha. If you know the animal ate a bad vegetable, like a hosha, you'd agree to pay a bad vegetable. That's not fair. Right? Bomb question. We know if you're trying to extract more from me, I have to prove it. I can't just walk over to Betin. Hey, Mark owes $100. They can't say, okay, Mark, pay $100. No, I have to prove it. So if the guy knows he ate a poor, bad quality tomato, he has to pay a poor, bad quality tomato. Then in a case where it's safek, we're not sure which one, why are you forcing him to pay top quality? If you want me to pay top quality, prove that my animal ate top quality. In the case of safek, the ra'aya, the burden of proof should be on the one who's trying to extract the better money. The Gemara says, it's about where the guy who got damaged had top level quality. His top quality land is equal to the low quality of the other guy. Right? So the guy who got damaged is poor, let's say. So his best land is equal to the low quality of the damager, who's obviously wealthy. This is the machloket. Rabbi Ishmael savar benizak shemina. According to Ishmael, we say, okay, what's considered superior? We look at the damaged party's superior land as superior. Rabbi Akiva savar bemazik shemina. The Rabbi Akiva says, no, what's considered superior? The guy who damaged is considered superior. My time at Rabbi Ishmael, why did Rabbi Ishmael hold that? Pasuk the word sadeh was mentioned twice, top and bottom, two pesukim. And therefore, just like in the first case of field, it was talking about the guy who got damaged. Right? It's talking about and also when it says earlier talking about payment of fields as well, it's talking about the guy who got damaged. Therefore, once the first case was talking about the damagee, so too the second case talking about the damagee, and therefore you have to pay according to the damagee's superior land. Right? It sounds like the pasuk where it says that you're paying from the land, it sounds like whose superior land, whose best land? The guy who's actually writing the check, the guy who's actually paying. Rabbi Ishmael, why would he doesn't like that? Ahani gzer shava v'ani kra. He says that the this gzer shava, right? This gzer shava is teaching you how to read the pasuk, right? Don't think that I have a pasuk telling me not. No, the pasuk doesn't straight up say according to Rabbi Kiva says damager. No, the pasuk doesn't say that. It's very vague. And my gzer shava is teaching you how to read the pasuk. That's why he says damagee. So the Gemara says ahani gzer shava kida kamina. Right, we mentioned the gzer shava. Ahani kran the pasuk also it also reads well. How? In the case where the damager has superior and inferior land, good quality and bad quality. And the damagee only has top quality land. And the bad quality of the damager doesn't equal to the superior to the top quality of the damagee. Right? Say that 5 times fast. Right? So one more time. The guy who damaged the owner of the item has top quality and bad quality. The damagee only has top quality. And the bad quality of the damager doesn't equal to the top quality of the damagee. That therefore the damager must pay from his top quality because your bottom doesn't cut it. Because he can't tell that guy, come take from my bad quality. No, doesn't make the cut. The guy shouldn't lose out just because your land is not good enough. Rather, take from my best quality, because, and even though it's better. Because if the bottom one doesn't make the cut, then even if the top one is better than his top quality, doesn't make a difference. You only go above, you can't go less. You have to replace it. Okay, Rabbi Akiva said, the pasuk was teaching you that you have to pay that you collect the damages from the damager's top land. And also the same thing would apply to hektish. Right? If you're collecting from someone else, then for sure, if you're collecting for hektish, you should also collect from top quality. My kavachomer hektish. What do you mean kavachomer? But what would be the case if you're talking about where a guy's animal gored a shore of hektish? That's not true because the pasuk says that if your animal damaged your friend's ox, which excludes the ox of hektish, right? If it's a hektish animal, you're not chayav. When it says rather someone's talking about someone who says he wants to give a certain amount of money, $100 for the Bet HaMikdash, maintenance. The treasurer who's coming to collect that pledge can take from superior land. Why? The Gemara says why? 1 second. A treasurer should be like a regular guy who's collecting money. In the same way, the Baal Chov, a guy who's creditor, collecting his debt, he can only take from median land, average. If you're going to tell me, according to Kiva, holds that the debtor can take, the creditor can take from top land, you still not good proof. The Baal Chov has more powerful because he has also in regarding to damages, right? He has a top hand regarding damages as well. Meaning, hektish, if you damage hektish, you're patur, according to the pasuk. A person, if someone else is damaged, he has to pay from top quality. So we see that regular from person to person, you pay top quality, and therefore top quality maybe to the creditor as well. But that's not a proof for hektish as well, because hektish doesn't have that top quality by regular damages. Like we said, like hektish, you don't have that top level by nizakin. All right, we'll stop here. We'll continue the proof tomorrow.